give up or love me for the things I'm not.
For the second piece in the Skulls series, I started out the same way I start out all of the drawings, which is doing an illustration first on some transfer paper, figure out how exactly I want all the details to be so that I'm absolutely happy with it before I transfer it onto the final piece that I'll be doing. With this drawing, I had the idea to not fill in the background and have it completely flat in one dark colour. Instead, what I thought I would do, even though it was a lot more time intensive, was do hundreds of little lines so that there was a direction to the background. It would still be a lot darker and give all the things in the foreground a lot of focus, but I didn't want it to be completely black. Instead, I wanted to give it a little bit of a Vincent van Gogh look and add a tiny bit of texture and a direction to that texture before I added some actual real texture to the skeleton using a little bit of gesso. I'm not sure if you pronounce that gesso or gesso. I've heard people pronounce it different ways, so in general I try and avoid pronouncing that in any of my videos, but today I'm going to risk it. And yeah, I used that to create a few raises on the skeleton. I think I went through about 6, maybe 7 of these before I got the layers raised enough to where I was happy with them. At a few points I did have to switch to a much thinner paintbrush just because it was very hard to get along the edges and keep them neat. There were a few times it went onto the black background, but ultimately it wasn't really an issue because it was so small. It wasn't really noticeable. It was the kind of thing that only I would have noticed, and I was going to go and outline the whole thing again anyway in a bit, so it didn't really matter. I just focused on trying to build up that texture, and then I started adding the shading onto the hand for life. Once that was done, I took one of the black pens that I used for the background and then started outlining the skeleton again. After that, I added the stars, and I wanted these to be focused around the baby so that it looked a little bit like the baby was glowing, and I didn't want to have it too much spread out over the rest of the background because otherwise it would have just been a bit too busy, especially with all that interesting line work going on in the background. I thought it was much better to keep it focused around the baby, and in the end I was really happy with how it looked just because it was glowing really, really nicely. I added a few more details on the hand and added some light on the underneath of the hand so it looked like there was light glowing from underneath as well before I moved on to the font and finished that off. Overall, I wasn't massively happy with how the font finished out. I should have maybe done something with a calligraphy pen, but I'm not massively good with calligraphy, so instead I just decided to go back to, I think this one's a 0.03mm pen, so very small, and add some shading on the edge of the banner. And then that's pretty much it. I'm done. Just like the last piece in this series, it's going to be going for sale. I never keep my drawings after I'm finished with them. I just don't like to look at anything after I've finished it because I start to see all the things I could have done better. So the listing for that is down in the description box, along with Redbubble and Patreon if you wanted the outline. I hope you liked the video, and I'll have a new video for you soon.
Caught in the web, you're so easily